NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has hardly opened its eyes, and the universe is new.
They lied to you. They betrayed your trust. NASA lied about what they found inside 3I Atlas. NASA didn't just hide what they found inside 3I Atlas. They looked directly into the cameras, knowing millions would watch, and fed you carefully manipulated images. They buried data. They classified discoveries that belong to every human being on this planet. And they did it so smoothly, so professionally, that you never even suspected. On August 6th, the James Webb Space Telescope, the most powerful machine humanity has ever built, found something that made them panic. Something so disturbing, they triggered an emergency override for the first time in years. But when they showed you the images, they'd been deliberately made fuzzy. Resolution reduced by 300 times what Webb can actually see. What are they hiding? And why are they so desperate to keep you from seeing it? Look, I know what you're thinking. Another conspiracy theory about NASA, right? Another wild claim about 3I Atlas and cover-ups? But this isn't a theory. This is a documented fact. And I'm going to prove it to you using NASA's own data, leaked communications, and the observations of people who know exactly what Webb telescopes should be capable of. 3I Atlas is doing things that violate the laws of physics as we understand them. It's made of materials that can't exist naturally. It's moving in ways that defy gravity, and it's following a trajectory so precise that the odds of it happening by chance are 1 in 20,000. People online are connecting dots that NASA doesn't want connected. They're asking questions about why the official images look nothing like what the telescope should actually produce. And they're discovering that the security classification for this goes above even presidential clearance. Today, you're going to learn what really happened on July 6th when Webb found something inside 3I Atlas that changed everything. What they discovered was so disturbing, they'd rather lie to 7 billion people than tell the truth. Day NASA panicked. The emergency that changed everything. Let me take you inside NASA's mission control on the day everything changed. It's 2:11 GMT, August 6th, 2025. Marco Micheli is staring at his screen in disbelief. The numbers coming in from ground-based telescopes don't just look wrong. They look impossible. 3I Atlas is accelerating in ways that break the laws of physics. Its chemical signature is showing metals that can't exist in space. And it's doing all this while still past Jupiter, where comets are supposed to be dead chunks of ice. Micheli's voice cuts through the operations center. We need Webb on this, now. 6 minutes later, they upload the emergency override command. For the first time in years, the world's most expensive telescope stops everything it's doing. Every planned observation, years of careful scheduling, were set aside. You need to understand how insane this decision was. Webb's observation time is more precious than gold. Every minute is planned months in advance. Committees debate for weeks about what deserves to be studied. But this time was different. No committees were there to argue. The approval went straight to the project scientist, and it had to be unanimous. They risked billions of dollars of science because whatever they were seeing was important and gambled everything on it. The chemically impossible. When Webb's data started flowing back to Earth, the first assumption was equipment failure. The numbers were so far outside normal ranges that several teams ran diagnostics thinking their instruments were broken. 3I Atlas was spewing carbon dioxide at 8 times the rate of water. Normal comets barely hit 0.7 to 1 ratio. This was completely off the charts. But the real shock came with the metallic emissions. Strong nickel lines blazing across the spectrum, clear as day, undeniable. Iron was completely absent. This violates fundamental chemistry. In every meteorite, every space rock, every cosmic visitor we've ever studied, nickel and iron are inseparable companions. The ratio is always about 1 part nickel to 15 parts iron. Always. What if you wake up one day and find a gold ring with no trace of copper or silver? It's impossible, right? That's how wrong this ratio is. Some lab experiments offer one faint possibility. Nickel carbonyl, a compound so volatile it can vaporize at only 43 degrees Celsius. Maybe in a far-off system, a strange chemistry allowed nickel to escape while iron stayed locked away. But no comet in our solar system shows anything like it. The spectroscopy teams check everything: calibration errors, background contamination, software glitches, every possible explanation. The data held up. The impossible was real. The great deception. The size lie they told you. Here's where NASA started lying to you, and I can prove it. When they calculated 3I Atlas's size, they used the standard assumption that it's just reflecting sunlight. This gave them a diameter of about 20 kilometers. Massive. Unprecedented. That would make it 40 times larger than any interstellar visitor we've seen. But here's what they didn't tell you. This is where the manipulation begins. Dr. Avi Loeb from Harvard ran the probability numbers. A genuine 20-kilometer interstellar rock should only visit our solar system once every 10,000 years. The universe doesn't have enough large debris floating between stars to make this plausible. Unless 3I Atlas isn't reflecting light. Unless it's generating its own. If this object is self-illuminating, it could be just hundreds of meters across. But it would need to generate 10 gigawatts of power, equivalent to several nuclear power plants, to produce the brightness we're observing. The question becomes, what technology can generate that much energy in the frozen depths of interstellar space? The trajectory that defies coincidence. Let's talk about 3I Atlas's journey through our solar system, because when you map it out, the coincidences pile up in ways that should terrify you. This object travels retrograde, the opposite to most objects in our solar system. But it's only tilted 5 degrees from the plane where Earth and major planets orbit. Random chance of this trajectory? 0.2%. Already suspicious. But it gets worse. 3I Atlas makes precision approaches to Mars 29 million kilometers. Then to the Sun at the exact moment Earth is on the opposite side, hidden by a solar glare. Then to Jupiter, 33 million kilometers. The combined probability of these random encounters? 0.005%. 1 in 20,000 odds. And here's the most disturbing yet to come. 3I Atlas conducts its most critical operations when Earth literally cannot observe them. Perfect timing to avoid detection. If you were designing a reconnaissance mission to study our solar system while avoiding scrutiny from Earth-based telescopes, this trajectory would be flawless. The people who caught them lying. But NASA underestimated something. They underestimated that people online would start connecting dots they didn't want connected. As the web data leaks out, social media explodes. One tweet warns, the final test: if 3I Atlas stops, decelerates, or changes direction in the asteroid belt near Mars, it could be something artificial and much more disturbing. Another user writes, "Hear me out. We've got Comet Swan 25b coming from one side of the Sun and 3I Atlas from another, both set to pass near Mars. What if there's something on Mars these objects are connected to? Maybe I'm overthinking, but these coincidences are weird." A third tweet claims, JWST images of 3I Atlas were deliberately downgraded. The telescope can resolve details down to hundreds of meters, but the released photos look fuzzy, pixels spanning tens of kilometers. Cover up? The image manipulation exposed. James Webb has angular resolution close to Hubble. Yet, when they released images of 3I Atlas, they showed very low resolution images, fuzzier even than telescopes with 100 times less capacity. The released Webb images had resolution 200 to 300 times worse than what the telescope should produce. Each pixel represents 10 to 20 kilometers, when Webb should resolve features down to 100 to 200 meters. Either the world's most expensive and precise telescope malfunctioned at the exact moment it observed the most important object in human history, or someone deliberately destroyed the image quality before release. Another tweet draws attention to something even more chilling. If Comet 3I Atlas stops, decelerates, or changes direction near Mars, it could be artificial. Why are we only concerned about Mars? Because the comet will pass remarkably close to the red planet, only 29 million kilometers, before heading for a hidden perihelion on the far side of the Sun, a stretch where Earth-based telescopes cannot see it. If you were designing a spacecraft to hide a maneuver, I truly believe this is exactly the timing you'd use. Loeb calls it a reverse solar O-berth maneuver, a braking strategy that could allow an interstellar craft to slow down and stay in the solar system. I don't think it was a coincidence. In my opinion, it was careful planning. As the comet races toward Mars, the debate spills beyond astronomy journals. People start comparing images. The Hubble Space Telescope captured clear, sharp pictures of 3I Atlas. But when NASA finally releases Webb's photos, they look so fuzzy, lower resolution than even small telescopes like Sphere X. One Twitter user claims the images were deliberately downgraded. JWST should give 1 pixel for every 100 meters. Instead, we get 20 kilometers per pixel. Cover-up or broken telescope? I don't think so. Officials say the blur is just a processing choice. But skeptics point out that Webb routinely delivers razor-sharp images of galaxies millions of light years away. Why hide detail on a comet only a few astronomical units away? The question that triggers millions is, could the real images show something artificial, or something they don't want the public to see? As that Twitter user concluded, this seems to be strong evidence in favor of a cover-up of whatever non-natural features might have been seen in the original high-resolution images. While people questioned image quality, ground-based telescopes were documenting something that should be impossible. Over 72 hours, 3I Atlas increased velocity by 0.12 meters per second squared. For an 11-kilometer object, that's like watching an aircraft carrier accelerate without engines. But the acceleration wasn't smooth. Tracking stations detected jitter, sharp, tiny velocity changes, as if something mechanical was turning on and off inside. Then there was the brightness pattern. Every 7.2 hours, like clockwork, 3I Atlas would brighten like a lighthouse beam. Too regular for natural rotation. Too precise for a random chunk of ice. Here's something the official coverage won't mention. Humans have encountered nickel-rich visitors from space before. King Tutankhamun's dagger blade contained 11% nickel, a composition that only exists in space metal. Ancient Egyptian iron beads show 1/3 nickel content, impossible to create with Earth-based technology 5,000 years ago. Babylonian scribes wrote of stars that burn and stones that rain from the sky. They called it sky iron, and warned that when metal falls from heaven, kings should beware. These civilizations couldn't know the chemistry of their space artifacts, but their warnings echo through history. When visitors arrive from the void, the world changes. The test we're failing. Dr. Avi Loeb didn't wait for consensus. The impossible chemistry, the precise trajectory, the mechanical brightness pattern. He laid it out in a blog post that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. His question was simple, but terrifying. What kind of natural process can make a comet behave like this? In laboratories, separating nickel from iron requires industrial processes. In space, it's supposed to be impossible. Yet 3I Atlas does it effortlessly. The test theory is gaining traction online. Advanced civilizations sending probes to evaluate developing species. The timing would be perfect, just as humanity becomes capable of detecting interstellar visitors. The Mars target. Multiple observers have noticed something disturbing. 3i Atlas isn't alone in targeting Mars. Other unusual objects are converging on the red planet. Mars hides artificial structures, hollow chambers hundreds of miles long that don't match any geological process. Could incoming visitors be reactivating ancient infrastructure? As one Twitter user observed, "I can't help but wonder if there's something on Mars, maybe something ancient, that all this activity is connected to." The classification above presidents. As public interest grows, information control becomes obvious. The most revealing Twitter observation came from someone with clear inside knowledge. If 3i Atlas ever comes within range of amateur telescopes, the cover-up will end. Otherwise, they will enforce it ferociously. Trump has no control. The security clearance goes above the US presidency. This reveals something chilling. Decisions about what you're allowed to know are made at levels beyond democratic oversight, by people accountable to no elected officials. The clock is ticking. On October 3rd, 3i Atlas will sweep past Mars at just 29 million kilometers, a cosmic hair's breadth in astronomical terms. Mars orbiters, like the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, have already been tasked to watch. If the high-resolution imaging science experiment manages to capture the nucleus, we might finally see the shape of this visitor. Will it be a rough ball of ice and rock, or something with angles, panels, or smooth surfaces? For now, all we can do is wait. Scientists admit privately that if 3i Atlas slows down or makes even a slight course correction near Mars, the world will never look at space the same way again. Even a tiny, deliberate-looking change would demand explanations that no natural comet can provide. The oldest water. While the orbit questions keep building tensions, web finding grabs headlines. 3i Atlas carries water older than Earth, estimated at 7 billion years old. Think about that. Isn't it wild that water that formed before our sun existed is now rushing past our neighborhood? If fragments of that water fall onto Mars, future missions might sample material that predates the entire solar system. Even if the comet is natural, it carries chemical stories from a time before Earth was born. For some, it's so terrifying. It's a reminder that our planet is young, and visitors from deeper time are still out there. They're lying about chemistry. They're lying about what this object really represents. You now have the proof they don't want you to see, the connections they hope you won't make, the questions they're terrified you'll ask. 3i Atlas came, conducted its evaluation, and departed. The test is complete. The only question remaining is, did humanity pass or fail? And what happens to civilizations that fail the test?